talking to you. Come here. I'm talking to you. Yeah. Scotty, hold on, pause. When I move, you move. Alright? When I move, you move.
I get it. Let me get a shot.
When I move, you move. That's what we've been doing. That's how you got here. That's how it's been going.
Here.
Alright?
Say less, Nat. Just say fucking less, bro.
What are you talking about? You put money in your pocket for too long.
Come in front.
You've been getting money for too long.
Nat. Just
So
say
when I
less,
move,
bro.
let's go.
Stop screaming.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. It's your girl Touche and I'm so happy to be your host once again. In today's video, we're going to be going through the part 2 of the Baddies South reunion show. I'm going to be giving you a full rundown on the events that happened in this very part of the reunion show. If this is something you're interested in, please go ahead to smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. And yeah, without wasting much time, let's just delve right in. My previous video, you'll know that that part ended with a fight between Natalie, Slim, Rolly, and Scotty as well as Sean. So like this was like basically a continuation of that. Of course, the fights had already been kind of like separated, but then like in between the whole separation, Scotty was throwing tantrums at Rolly for the fact that she had been smacked by Rolly. And of course, this security wasn't like trying to allow her get to Rolly, and that was like really frustrating for her. So she resulted in like throwing a lot of tantrums rather, and still trying her very much best to get across to Rolly, who was of course on the other side of the room, responding with jabs and kind of like infuriating her. And we had Slim on the other side also throwing jabs at Natalie, and Natalie also trying her very best to get to Slim, but of course the Zeus guards were not letting her. And yes, it was basically just chaos between Rolly, Natalie, Slim, and Scotty. Now, as at this very point in time, Sean had decided to like take like several steps back because initially, although I know I didn't mention this in my previous video, but in the part 1 of this episode, or of this show rather, of this reunion show, Sean had kind of like gotten through to Slim and hit her, right? And at this particular point in time, right, Sean had kind of like taken several steps back and was now kind of like trying to ease the tension amongst the girls. Basically, she was like trying to get the girls to sit down so they could finally have the reunion, and so they could all go home, because I think she kind of mentioned that it was already like past 2 a.m. and obviously because of the fight that had happened, they hadn't really gotten the chance to like sit down and have the proper reunion, right? So basically that was what she was trying to. So not too long after the whole Natalie, I think after Natalie had tried her best to get to Slim, but obviously it wasn't working out for her. She was already like very much angered about the whole situation, right? And as at this particular very point in time, Natalie of course had gotten a black eye from Rolly, right? Or I know it was actually from Slim, yeah, because I know she mentioned earlier that Slim had kind of like scratched her in the eye, right? So so at this particular point in time, Natalie was pissed, and she had obtained the black eye, and After finding or after realizing that she was not going to be able to get through to Slim, she kind of like walked out of the set, basically threatening to fire everyone, right? While she left the scene, Rolly kept kind of like still throwing jabs, continue throwing jabs at her, saying that, she was like too old for all of this, that she should go back home to her kids and, continue being a baby mama. And I was like, damn. She finally walks out of the set, and she basically walks out of like the building, right? And on her way out, she stumbles on Sydney once again. I thought Sydney would have left by this time, but obviously she was still very much around. And she basically was asking Natalie for a conversation, but Natalie kind of like turned her down, letting her know to like back off, right? And of course, Sydney was still going to be very much persistent, but like I said, Natalie kind of like declined the conversation and like kind of moved away from Sydney, and like she moved to like a dark corner, and she was of course accompanied by like two of the zoo's security. And yeah, back at the set, the reunion set, Natalie kind of made like a couple reviews on Scotty in the midst of throwing jabs at her. She basically said that Scotty was broke, and I think she said something about Scotty not being able to afford for like $150 hotel room, something like that. And she also said something about Scotty going down on Natalie on a trip that they were both on to Africa. In case you did not get that clear, basically what Rolly said rather was that she was very much aware that Scotty had kind of like eating Natalie's on their trip to Africa. So yeah, I don't know how true this is. These are just mere allegations, until they are proven. But yeah, Rolly, we all know that Rolly is one to not just spill but spill facts. So there's a very, very big possibility that this is actually true. And if it is true, I have to say that I'm not surprised, because like, hello, these girls are very, very crazy. These are wild sets of girls that could do anything, especially when they are like very, very intoxicated. So I would want to believe that there's also a possibility of that happening, especially since it was disclosed by Natalie that she and Scotty had been kind of like touring. I wouldn't say touring, but like been kind of like going out together, right? So yes, that was what Rolly had to say. And of course, Scotty kind of like debunked everything, saying that she was lying and all. But like I said, as of this particular point in time, we really don't know who the true liar is, if it is Rolly or Scotty. Natalie being outside, right, with two of the security. So I think one was a producer. I think it was one producer and a security, right? So back to her being outside, the producer was like trying to like cajole her into coming back on set, but Natalie kept refusing, saying that she wasn't going back on set. And the producer kind of asked her like why she wasn't going to go back on set, and then she I have to say she gave like the most flimsy excuse I've ever heard. She basically said that that Rolly had left her part of the couch and come over to her part of the couch. Like Rolly basically had left her couch, her own side of the couch, and come over to her side, which was not what was which was basically not what was supposed to be, right? And when she said this, I was a little bit confused, because last I checked, she was the one who left her side over to Rolly's side to start a fight. And the producer even kind of like mentioned this to her, reminded her basically that, you know, the person who left, if there was anyone who left their side of the couch, it was actually her running up to Rolly to pick a fight. And of course, Natalie was like, no, like, you know, she jumped. She came over to, she jumped me. She came over to my side of the car. I'm like, girl, just keep quiet. You don't really have anything to say at this point, to be honest. But yes, she also went ahead to say that, you know, she basically kind of like tried to like save the situation by changing the topic, talking about Jayla by the stairs, that what was Jayla doing over at the stairs, that Jayla was asking what was going on, that Jayla is a scary ass bitch. So I think basically Natalie was hoping that Jayla was going to jump in for her, and I'm sure that, you know, this expectation was not only just for Jayla but like the rest of the girls. But of course these girls didn't do as Natalie expected or hoped that they would for her. And this kind of like, I'm sure this was like amongst the things that was like, you know, getting her even more angered. One, the fact that she had been beaten up. Two, the fact that, you know, her so-called friends did not like, you know, tag in for her. The only person that actually tagged in for her was Scotty. And now I have every reason to see why Scotty did so. Because remember, if you have watched my previous video, I was a little bit confused as to why Scotty was all of a sudden in Natalie's van, because last I checked, Scotty had kind of formed some kind of alliance with the likes of Jayla and Sean, who were of course not in good terms with Natalie. So I was a little bit shocked in the part when I was like, you know, watching the part 1, but now I'm, you know, on the part 2 of the reunion show. I kind of now see why, because more information has been disclosed, right? Because obviously, like I said, these two have been hanging out, and Rolly has even further disclosed that they have not just only been hanging out. So now obviously there is every reason for Scotty to like, you know, tag in for, you know, Natalie, right? So yeah, Natalie went ahead to like talk, like she was very, very pissed. And like I said, I know that she was very pissed about the fact that these girls did not, you know, tag in for her. Hopefully, I feel like Natalie was expecting some kind of like, I wouldn't say loyalty, but like submission, especially from certain ladies in the group, especially knowing that she was an EP. Probably she felt like, okay, since these girls know I'm an EP, right, and not just their so-called friend, that they are going to like, you know, kind of like tag in for me. Probably that was what she had in mind, because, you know, like, it's the way she said it. She said it with so much confidence. She said it like, you know, like basically it was like the confidence for me, right?
Sheila's up there on the stairs. Like, what's going on? Everybody's scary ass bitches. Fired, bitch. So what? What's up? These hoes are all fired. When I jump, you jump.
So yes, she was really, really pissed that this set of girls did not tag in for her, or did not, you know, like come in to like fight for her. And so yeah, she went on about saying she went on about, you know, threatening that, you know, she was going to fire all of them, that in fact that the only persons that were going to remain for season 3 were going to be her and Sean. And as for Scotty, that Scotty can just be allowed to stay on the stage, but the rest of the girls should get off her set, right? So like, it was really, really funny. It was really, really funny to me, right? I understand that Natalie is an EP, but like, I feel like, you know, she lets it get to her head a lot of times. Like, she basically allows it to get to her head. Basically, I feel like, you know, sometimes she speaks out of, you know, out of proportion, and acts out of proportion because she knows that she's an EP, right? And I want to believe that even though she's an EP, there are certain things, there are certain limits. She still has certain limits. So like, well, I mean, this is just my opinion, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. So Natalie is done throwing her tantrums, and she decides to go back on set because apparently the show is still going on without her. Right? And so she's like, okay, I'm out here throwing my tantrums and hoping, okay, that the show is gonna pause. But obviously the girls are still in there. Janisha is still trying to, like, you know, get her questions out. And so I'm sure she was like, nah, if this show is not gonna pause in my absence, I definitely have to go back in. So, like, yeah, anyway, she went back in, right? On her way back into the building, of course, she meets up with Sydney again, who is insisting to have a conversation with her. And Natalie just basically tells her that, you know, that she should hang on a bit, that they just got in on set, so she should just hang on. She should wait outside. And Sydney is like, okay, so how long do I wait? She was like, like, it was the question for me. I was like, Sydney, seriously, at this point, I don't know if I should say you're I really don't want to be rude, but like at this point it's giving very stupid, honestly. But yes, Sydney went ahead to ask Natalie how long she should wait, and Natalie was like, you know, just wait a couple minutes, because, you know, we just got on set, right? And then she goes in. At the set, we have Scotty still trying to get through to Rolly still throwing jabs at Scotty, and, you know, Slim in a corner talking, saying that, you know, Natalie got to her, and, you know, they are good. And I'm like, and then saying stuff like, you know, like she was just talking like random shit, to be honest. And I like the fact that Sean had to like step in to shut her up again, a second time, because at this point it was already getting too annoying from Slim. Like I said, Slim always has the most to say, especially for someone who cannot do shit, right? So like, yeah, she was basically running her mouth, and Sean stepped in to shut it up for her. And so my thing is, Slim is actually in the mess she's in because she stepped in for Rolly. When Rolly, like, you know, went in for a fight with Natalie, Slim kind of like jumped. Now that was the single mistake she made to put herself in such a big mess, because it was that very action of hers that, you know, made both Scotty and Sean to attack her. And that was the same very reason that Sean still attacked her this second time, right? So now my thing is, it's the fact that she jumped in for Rolly that she has gotten into this big mess. Yeah. Now, the last time I checked, Rolly had so much to say about her friendship with Slim being genuine. Now, someone who says her friendship is genuine with someone else, I was expecting some kind of like support, you know, especially since Slim kind of like jumped in for her, right? Even though I know Rolly can hold her grounds, but like, I mean, Slim still showed that friendship support. Now, I didn't get the same vibe from Rolly when Slim was being jumped by not just one, but 3 persons. Rolly was like, you know, it's none of my business. So like, you know, you now see, this is like one of the reasons why I say that I do not believe the friendship that exists between Slim and Rolly is genuine. Yes, I know you have your, like, you guys have your thoughts in the comment section, which I would like to read, of course. And I know you might want to say, yeah, Slim or probably Rolly is not the type of person to like engage in business that is not hers. But like, if you're gonna say that, let's rewind, okay? Let's rewind to the fight between Slim and Sean, very much back in the episode, or back in the season, right? When Slim attacked Sean for throwing a bottle at her. Now, remember that Rolly tagged in, and that was what made Jayla to jump in, right? So like, where was this vibe, where was this energy when Slim was being attacked by 3 persons only because she tagged in for you, for a friendship that is genuine? I'm just saying. So yeah, like, let's talk about it. Like, let me know what you think in the comment section. Can we also talk about Persuasion acting the mother or caretaker in Slim's situation? First of all, when Slim first got attacked by Sean, I saw Persuasion helping Slim take off her shoes. Secondly, after Slim was attacked again by Sean the second time, I saw Persuasion trying to help Slim adjust. So I was just looking at the whole thing like, okay, okay, what's going on? Okay, so after the whole event, after the whole breakout, the fight, after Sean stepping in to help Slim shut up, she kind of stepped out briefly. And when she stepped out to the back room, she was kind of like taking off she took off her, I think, her wig. Okay, her wig kind of came off when she went into beat Slim. So like, when she went back, she went to take it off completely. And then she was asked to take off her chains as well. So like, in between, I think her boyfriend, of course, Blueface, came in to help assist her with taking off her chain. And in between taking off that chain, he was encouraging her to beat Slim a second time. I was like, which normal boyfriend? It was just a very confusing, it was just a very confusing scenario for me, because it's just very odd that a man will be encouraging his woman to go out and fight. That was a little bit too odd. I'm not surprised, if you ask me. I'm not surprised. I know this couple. I know their history. I know their track record. I know everything, right, to an extent. But it still is really, really appalling to see a man encourage his woman go out to beat someone, especially someone who I'm sure he very well knows doesn't have that much power to fight back, right? So it was just quite appalling. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Okay, so the girls are finally seated, of course, and the hosts, who are of course Janisha and I've forgotten her name, but you know who. But yeah, they finally get the chance to ask all their questions. And of course, Rolly is asked by Janisha what really started the ruckus at the back. Because if you remember in part 1, like I said, the chaos started right from the back, rolled over to, the hosts, and continued. Rolly was asked what happened, what created the whole chaos. And, Rolly went ahead to respond that, Natalie came into the scene and was shouting for them to make way for her and Sean, I guess, and repeatedly continued shouting, right? And then Slim responded with, okay, Natalie, we hear you, right? Stop screaming, right? So and yeah, that was what after Slim responded with that, Natalie got pissed, flung her juice at a couple of people, and that was where the whole fight started. So now my thing is, why does it have to be you, Slim? Why did it have to be you to respond? Why didn't someone like Rolly respond? Why didn't someone who else is there that can actually challenge Natalie? Jayla respond? There were a couple girls that could have actually responded with that would have responded to the situation, but they didn't, and it had to be you who has the least power. So like I said, Slim at this point, to be honest, I can't support her, because I feel like she continuously, intentionally sets herself up to get beaten. Because like I said, you cannot have so much back in you and not a single bite. If you're going to make that much noise, you should make sure that you have the energy, enough energy to fight or to, you know, defend yourself when the chaos, or when, you know, shit gets out of hand. So, you know, after Natalie explained that, you know, the second host, I'm so sorry right now, I can't remember her name, but yeah, the second host like kind of like, you know, asked Natalie, you know, what her experience was like on the show, and Natalie went ahead to like give a rundown. And after that was Slim was giving her rundown when Sean walked in again and beat her up a third time. So like, and it's the fact that after Sean beat her up, Slim kept saying stuff like, I knew it was coming, I saw it coming. I'm like, girl, shut up. Like, just shut up. To be honest, like, just shut up. Like, just avoid being beat again. Just keep quiet. Honestly. But yeah, that was that. Okay, so after Sean let out that, you know, energy, she was finally ready to sit down peacefully and, you know, continue in the conversation. And, you know, after she sat down, you know, she was asked, you know, her experience on the show. And she basically said that, you know, she didn't like the fact that, you know, a lot of people made fun of her, right? And, you know, that she's actually a very nice person. Okay, before she even came down to this part, after saying that she didn't like the fact that, you know, people made fun of her, she also said something like, you know, that she was very, very much well aware that, you know, some of the ladies, after going back to watch the episode, were, you know, irritated at how they acted on the show. And I have to say, this part was very funny to me, because immediately after Sean said this, the camera kind of like rolled straight to Anne. Like, the camera rolled on Anne.
I ain't really like how everybody in the room wanted to make fun of me.
Okay.
Like, I know when people really watched this shit, they felt stupid.
Okay.
Like, they thought it was gonna look in one way, but when the world took it another way, it gave me more power and more light.
And I was like, and you know, it was so funny to me, because immediately after Sean said this, the first person that came to my mind was Anne. And then the camera fell on Anne. I was like, I just let it out. Like, it was so funny to me. But yeah, after that, you know, Sean went ahead to say that, you know, in as much as she's a very nice and sweet person in real life, that she doesn't tolerate disrespect, and that was why she had to, like, you know, wash Swa up. Of course, you already know what happened with the sing situation between Persuasion and Sean. Okay, so yeah, basically Sean was like, you know, it was because of the disrespect. And she also went ahead to reveal that if there was anybody she would have hit first, it was definitely gonna be Natalie. Would have been Natalie. That Natalie would have been the first person to take a smack from her for the fact that she pulled her earphones out when she was listening to some cool gospel music. She said that, and then she went ahead to talk about, you know, how grateful she was to have met Jayla, you know, who kind of like accepted her. And, you know, basically she just went on and on about their friendship and all of that. Sean also added that, you know, she really doesn't give a fuck about the rest of the girls. And as far as she knows, that, you know, they all missed out on a very good opportunity, because last time she checked, she doesn't see them getting as much bookings as she does. And, you know, basically she was more like, they would have used that, or used the show as an opportunity to kind of like level up, probably via her. I don't know, but basically I think that was the information, and that was what I could get from what she had said. Or from Persuasion finally got the chance to say her piece. She basically said that, you know, that she had kind of like had a conversation with Sean off camera about, you know, making sure to clean after themselves since they were the only ones in the house, and Sean kind of like brushed her off. So Natalie is back in, you know, and still ranting and threatening, you know, basically talking about the fact that she had 20k emails from girls willing and ready to be on her show, and, you know, going off about firing ladies, firing girls and all of that, basically just ranting. And at some point she asked, you know, one of the Zeus people to open the door so she could, like, you know, hear what was being said on her set, okay. She kept, you know, reiterating the fact that it was her show and that she was gonna fire off bitches. and get like a new set of girls for season 3 and all of that. And I was like, okay. So very much later on, you know, a mic is being brought to her by like one of the Zeus production guys, asking her to put on her mic, and she was like, she doesn't give a fuck about her mic. But then, you know, as at that particular point in time, the production guy kind of like raised his voice just a little bit, just a tiny little bit, and was like, you know, basically like, you have to wear your mic, right? And so that was when she was like, okay, I'll wear my mic myself because I'm an OG. And I was like, girl, like honestly, it's the pride for me at this point, right? It was just like the whole pettiness and lack of maturity for me from Natalie, and also the pride. Like, it was a very, very distasteful combo. So at some point, you know, Scotty kind of like left the set and came out to where Natalie was. And when Natalie noticed that she was, you know, in close proximity, she called out to her in a very commanding, disrespectful way. She was like, let me talk to my bitch. Hey, come here. You know, like in a very commanding way, basically. She went anyway over to speak to Scotty. And basically what she said to her was like, you know, she basically told her that, she reminded her that, like, you know, back in North Carolina, where she had pulled her out from, according to Natalie, that, you know, she was all active and she was very active, but now here all of a sudden she's not. So basically, like, she was just basically being disrespectful, if you ask me, to Scotty. And, you know, basically telling her that when she jumps, she's supposed to jump, stuff like that. Like, you know, that, you know, and I think she made mention of, like, you know, Scotty has been like collecting a lot of checks, but now that she's supposed to actually, like, you know, prove her worth, that she didn't prove her worth. That when she runs, that Scotty is supposed to run after her. I'm like, girl, who the hell are you talking to at this point? At some point, I know when Natalie started talking to Scotty was like, you know, a little bit taking it easy on her, like, you know, basically just like, you know, trying to, like, you know, not respond. But then it kind of got out of hand, because at some point Natalie started screaming at the top of her voice, saying that when she runs, Scotty is supposed to run after her. When she jumps, Scotty is supposed to jump, and all of that. And, you know, I think it was at this point that, you know, Scotty finally responded saying, stop screaming, Natalie, say less, you know. Basically, I feel like, you know, because of the privileges that Scotty has been getting from Natalie, you know, Natalie expects some level of loyalty, not even some level, or Natalie expects like loyalty fully from Scotty, and also expects that, you know, Scotty will be her puppet, right? And well, it's so disappointing the way this thing played out. It was actually very disappointing for me, because, man, it's really spoke volume on Natalie. Although we already know who Natalie is and how Natalie is, but like then this was very, very irritating for me to watch. Like the way she was talking to Scotty, like I felt really appalled, to be honest. And I felt even more appalled that Scotty was just standing there and, you know, like taking all of that in, like just, you know, like taking all, like, why would you even allow someone to control you that much? Because of what? Because of how much? Like, well, anyway, I don't want to know whatever relationship or like agreement they have or had, which is obvious. But yes, it did seem like they had kind of like made a pact. Probably Natalie had commanded that she would be at her beck and call, and especially be ready to tag in for her when she goes in for a fight with Roly. Basically, the last conversation that was had on this part of the show. Finally, Swa got back in, and she, you know, was, you know, finally given like the room to like speak her piece. And, you know, that was when she went ahead to like basically say that, you know, that you can basically, she said, you can't control people's reaction. And obviously the conversation she had with Sean off cam didn't mean anything, right? And I think she was caught short by Sean again. And then that was when another question was thrown at her, like, okay, fine, do you regret what you said about, you know, her man? if you remember, I think in episode 1, Persuasion had actually said something about sleeping with Sean's man, which of course is Blueface. And yeah, in Persuasion's response to that question, she basically said that, you know, she said when you're angry, you say, you know, you say a lot of things, and you know, basically she spoke out of anger. And you know, Trina. But yeah, okay, Trina finally asked if, you know, she regretted, you know, saying that. And you know, Persuasion was like, you know, that, like I said, she spoke out of anger. And you know, Trina was like, you know, there are certain things you don't say even if you're angry. And that was when Persuasion said the dumbass said this dumb, or responded with this dumbass statement.
I'm a Pisces. I'm gonna speak to hurt you at the end of the day, because watch it. Oh shit! Watch it.
Yeah,
Watch
you gonna
it.
speak to
Watch
her?
it.
I'm so glad. You know, one thing I like about Sean would help correct your senses. If you speak ill, she will help restructure your statements. If you act funny, she will help you act right. So like, I just like the fact that she doesn't even talk much. She just goes in, and that's exactly what she did.
1 million followers on Instagram.
From clout chasing. Like an escort.
Can you not cut me off? Can I finish? You was just
Right.
She about to be real famous for getting fucked up.
like, honestly, we all got along. We was all cool. We all was.
Why is
It
she
was
talking?
cool.
I would never trust this snake ass
You know, I just
bitch.
trust
Your
you.
scales are showing
It's fine.
and your eye is low.
Oh, it is?
So if we're gonna be adults on this bitch and we're gonna hold each other accountable, let's do just motherfucking that. Let's